It's another week with another review, and guess what? We have got another crossover for you. But the good thing is that this one won't cost you an arm and a leg, and I personally think it looks good. This is the new Nissan Magnite, and to properly welcome it to South African soil, we thought we'd put it to the test in the concrete jungle. Now, before we go for a drive, let's talk about design. Looking at the outside of the Nissan Magnite, you'll notice that there are elements of this vehicle that remind you of a Datsun. And you wouldn't be wrong, because this was initially meant to be a Datsun. But then Nissan relooked at their strategy and took on the Magnite project, and here we are today with a Nissan Magnite. I like the way this vehicle looks. It looks retro, it looks a little bit menacing because it's got black cladding, you've got a two-tone roof. It looks like a car that is rugged, that is willing to go off-road lightly, but at the same time gives you that sense of adventure. There are premium touches on the outside. For instance, you've got LED lights, some chrome inserts, and you've got lovely 16-inch wheels. And I like that about the vehicle because it comes in at a nice price, but it doesn't skimp out on small details that make the overall look of the vehicle better. Sitting inside the Nissan Magnite, you're welcomed by a modern design. I like the fact that they've added small details to the dashboard face here, but the one thing that I must be a little bit critical on is this. I feel Nissan could have given us slightly better plastics. That being said, the interior does seem to be well built, and I like the fact that there aren't any squeaks and rattles when you move around in the car. Tech-wise, I've got a 7-inch infotainment screen that gives you Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Up front, I've also got a digital display, which makes the vehicle more modern. And at the same time, I've got quite unique design here when it comes to the aircon unit. It's something I haven't really seen before in a vehicle, and I like the fact that it's a bit different. And lastly, of course, you've got this. Inductive charging, because we all know the struggles of keeping a cable with you when you're driving. The whole thing about this Nissan Magnite is that it actually works from a backseat perspective. As you can see, you've got an ISOFIX fitment there, so if you're a young family with a baby, you can easily put in your baby seat with ease. But at the same time, if it's two of you at the back, you can put your armrest down and you've got lovely cup holders for you to use here. The only thing that you might battle with, I'm an average sized person, and I can tell you that I've got plenty of leg room, but if you're taller than me, you might battle with a bit of headroom. So first impressions with the Nissan Magnite. The first thing I've personally noticed is just how light the steering is on this car. Now, I know that a light steering feel is not everyone's cup of tea, but we need to remember that for a car like this, you need it to be able to be maneuverable in a city environment. And if there's one thing about Joburg CBD is that the roads are sometimes very narrow and there's a lot going on. So you need to be able to move around with ease without the fear that you're going to run into something. And the steering feel on this car really does add to that. Now, cars like this have become the bigger brother to hatchbacks and even sedans, and most people who are buying cars like this want them for the fact that they are higher on the ground, so you get that sense of safety and you get that visibility that you want out of a car like this. And this car, I must say, works very well in that regard. Yes, it's not the biggest crossover out there, but you don't get the sensation that you're in a hatchback. Instead, it does feel like you're higher on the ground and it gives you more visibility. And at the same time, more visibility also means more security. So the more you can see, the safer you feel. And this car rides on 16-inch wheels with 195 section tires. And I must say, I like the fact that this car is neither too hard on the road, nor is it too soft. It's very balanced when you're driving it. Another important factor for a crossover is the engine that it uses. And this car has got an advantage over its rivals because it's one of the few cars that uses a 1-liter turbocharged engine as opposed to a normally aspirated engine. It gives you 74 kilowatts and 152 Newton meters, which is very good for a car of this size. it means that you've always got enough torque to get yourself going, which is perfect for overtaking, something we do a lot of, especially when we're going on a long weekend away. And I'm happy to report that the CVT gearbox in this Nissan Magnite works very nicely. Nissan claims that this vehicle will average 6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is very good, and I've been tracking the fuel economy of this vehicle, and it's currently giving me 6.2 kilometers per liters. And I promise you, I've literally spent nearly an hour trying to sit here and configure this so that it reads with the normal way of how South Africans read fuel economy, and it's still stuck here at kilometers per liters. Few little features on the inside that I like about it that make it extra quirky. For instance, I've got a thing called eco scoring and eco coaching. What that essentially does is that it literally gives me tips on how to drive in the most efficient manner as possible. So the fact that this car coaches me to drive better and more economically is a thing that I think most younger audiences will appreciate, because we all know that saving a bit of bucks doesn't ever hurt. I've been teasing the price of this Nissan Magnite for some time now, but I'm sure you want to find out how much it costs. You'll be happy to know that this vehicle comes in at just under 257,000 Rand, which I'm sure we can all agree is very good pricing. The only challenge this vehicle faces is the competition, namely the Toyota Urban Cruiser and the Suzuki Vitara Brezza, which are vehicles that are very competent at what they do and even come in slightly cheaper than this vehicle. So what do you pick between the three of them? Well, that's where it becomes a matter of personal preference. One thing is for sure, this crossover is definitely a city slicker. Is it the slickest? Well, you'll have to decide.